Hey everybody, it's part 2 of making these beautiful picture frame holders that we started out with. We had to change things up a little bit and we'll talk about that. But most of all, they came out perfect and pretty and we've gotten a lot of compliments on them. So stick with us as we resin together. This is Resin Together, where we work together to make beautiful, functional resin art. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of our series on these picture frame holders, and I have to start by apologizing. The video I made of cleaning up and finishing these accidentally got deleted, and so I don't have the video to show you, but I can show you the end product just to see what it looked like, and I'll walk through what I did. So after these came out of the mold, we saw that. I took them in the workshop. And the first thing I did, and I ended up having to remake these because the first set messed up. It was a learning experience and I messed those up, but when I remade them, I actually took masking tape and covered the bottom and the sides before I did the deep fill of the clear epoxy. So I put the blue layer in, and then I put my sand and shells in. I put the blue layer in, and then I covered the sides all the way around and the bottom with the blue painter's tape, the masking tape, and then I poured the sand and the gravel and the shells and everything in, and filled it with the clear resin. That gave me clean sides and a fairly clean bottom to work with, so I wasn't fighting large pieces of epoxy to have to cut off the sides, because I found that I had trouble cutting it because of the sand. The blade wasn't really wanting to go through that, and it was really bad on the blade, so I remade them differently, and that's how they turned out. They turned out really well. So once I got them in the shop, I didn't have to clean the edges too much. If you remember, when they were in the mold, they were kind of like this, basically, in there. That one was like this. They were like that. So this one I didn't have to do anything with. It just cleaned up the sides, a little bit of sanding. This one I cut the wood and then cut the epoxy just to make that clean break so that they were separate. After I did that, I took my sander and cleaned up the top and got them smooth, and cleaned up the sides and the bottom. Got it all smooth. Especially on the wood, I started at 80 grit and went to 220. Each sandpaper in between. To cut the slot, I actually took my compound miter saw. It has a block that keeps the blade from closing too much, so I figured out how deep I wanted my slot and then secured the item in my compound miter saw and pulled it down and just did a slice, and then moved it one blade width, did another slice, moved one blade width, did another slice, so it came out smooth and even all the way down. I would be very careful doing that, and I would clamp it down. It's a pretty small piece to be working with, so if you can clamp it down. You can also use a table saw with your rip fence, turn it upside down, keep the stones and everything away from your blade, but turn it upside down and get that blade as deep as you want this trench, and set your rip fence and push the item through cleanly. Very carefully, because this is going to be wobbly because there's no support on this side, so be very careful. And move your fence again the width of your blade and run it through again. Move the fence the width of your blade and move it again. The goal for me, because I had found these picture frames, was to make a trench big enough that it would hold it. And so we have a nice pretty picture frame that'll hold a picture and be a beautiful scene. Took these to market and people really liked them. Had some really good ideas about putting mementos from a vacation, some shark's teeth and things like that in there. So I definitely think that there is some opportunity for making more of these, and they turned out well. Fairly easy once I figured out what I needed to do. So let me just give you a close-up of how they turned out. With the slot, very pretty. You can see the kind of river look. Got a little bit of stuff on it. And then then the brown sand with the shells. And then the white sand with the shells also. And I think I like the white best. It just seems to turn out the best, so very pretty. So I will put a link to the items that we used and these frames, and hope you try something like this at home. If you do, as always, I would love to see the pictures in the comments. Let me see your creations. Give me, would love to see that. Most of all, I want to thank you for watching the video, and again, I'm sorry I didn't have the full work that we had promised to show, but that video got messed up. But if you do enjoyed what we did and you would like to see more of this, please like the video and subscribe so you can be told of things coming up. And most of all, I want to thank you for joining us as we resin together.